and welcome back to another episode of Cruise Ship Explorers.
Another one.
I know, it's just flying by, but today I am super excited to talk to probably one of the most shredding guitar players on the internet. We have Jemmuel Magtibay.
And I like to call him Jem because I know him. He goes by Jem to me, but he is a session musician. He's also a touring musician. He is also a studio engineer. But guess what he is? He's actually a performer on cruise ships. And we're going to dig into that conversation because we want to know, a guy like that, what does he think of playing on cruise ships? We have to know. But each week, Rachel, we are going to bring interviews of cruisers, cruise staff, celebrities that perform on these selling out theme cruises, craziness, and much, much more each week. So if you like what you see here, subscribe, like, comment. Your comments are super important to us because we want to hear what you have to say. How about you, Rachel? Should we get into this?
Yeah, let's talk to him.
Let's go. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Cruise Ship Explorers. We have an amazing guest, Jem. He likes to be called Jem. Jem, tell us your last name so we don't just completely screw it up.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Jem, short for Jemmuel, and my last name is Magtibay.
Okay, Rachel, now you have to repeat that 10 times.
Sure,
no, I'm kidding.
Jemmuel Magtibay.
Yep,
There you go.
there you go.
Jem. Yeah,
Oh my
I got
God.
him. Yeah, because I've been checking him out. This guy is so amazing. First of all, you'll start listening to a video of his guitar playing, and it will not end there. I guarantee you will go down a rabbit hole and just listen to video after video. It's so impressive. I just love lead shredding guitars. And I was like, oh yeah, music to my ears.
Oh, really? Well, you know what I do? I stalk his Instagram pages and I zoom in at every studio that he's in. I'm like, what kind of console is that? What kind of mic is that? What kind of guitar is that? We're stalkers of your stuff, just so you know. But no, amazing stuff. So tell us how you got started in your music career. And being from Australia, you know, we don't know what the scene is like there.
Right. Okay, well, hello. My name is Jem, of course. And music has been a part of my life ever since I was a very, very young kid. Being someone who grew up in church, my mom sang, my brother played electric guitar. That's how I got influenced in electric guitar. When I was a little baby, I either had a guitar in my hands or drums. So those were like my two primary instruments that I had. My cousins play music. My sister sings and dances and plays music. The only musical person, the only non-musical person in my family is my dad. So, but the thing is, even though he was not musical, he loved music. So, man, like our whole music collection, we had tons and tons of stacks of CDs and concert DVDs.
Music.
I grew up with music.
It was all around.
All around. It went from everything from music that we listened to in church, and then from everything ranging from the Eagles and ABBA and James Taylor, Toto,
Love
and
it.
just so many different things. And my musical inspirations came from just anywhere and everywhere. And also being someone from Filipino background, Filipinos love music, and then there's a lot of Filipino music that I kind of was brought into as well. So, Dad would also, like, Saturday mornings when he didn't have work, he'd blast Kenny G, or he'd blast just whoever
so you were
was
surrounded
on.
by music, which
I was surrounded.
It's such an influence to, I think, your soul and being a musician when you have that around you constantly, which is great. I know growing up, I had that too. My parents always had some kind of record playing in the background,
Right.
whether it was like a Frank Sinatra or whether it was, you know, something in the 60s or 70s, you know. It was just always around the house. I know Rachel as well. She was brought up saying, you're going to play that grand piano and you're going to now learn violin.
Oh, yeah, no.
And that's what you're going to do.
That was my first instrument, was piano, and then violin right after that. But you know, at that age, you're like, this is so lame. Meanwhile, like, other kids were learning guitar. They were playing in like rock bands and stuff. So I saved up all my babysitting money and secretly bought a guitar and just like taught myself to like shred in my mind. Basically, like, I got really good at bar chord progressions and a couple like finger picking things. But it really wasn't until later in life that I went back to violin and really started to appreciate it. You know, I guess sometimes when your parents kind of push you into it, you're like, it's automatically not cool, you know?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So from being surrounded by music, what do you lean towards? What kind of style of music right now?
Stop.
I know it's a tough question.
It's a tough question because I
Everybody
love
goes,
everything.
everything. Well, then you don't need to answer it. How about telling us about your first paid gig? 16, I think it was.
Correct.
Hairspray?
Yes, correct. So I was,
What was
16.
that?
Oh, wow. So when I entered...
So we know Hairspray, that's the musical,
yes,
right?
Hairspray the musical. So the way that school works in Australia is, you know how in the US you have like your freshmen and stuff like that. So, and that's technically high school. But in Australia, high school is from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. And 11th and 12th grade, that's your senior years. And a lot of schools actually offer just pure senior high schools, which are just 11th and 12th grade schools. So the school I went to was a school called St. Mary's Senior High School. And that was a high school where they're very into just it was the best schooling experience I've ever had. It was so unique, and it was a public school, but it was just like so open to creativity and expression. And my music teacher was someone who was not only a music teacher, but she's also a conductor, and she's actually one of the top conductors in the local area for like Broadway style musicals. And I guess when I came into my music class and they told us, "Oh, can you play something?" and so I wound up playing, and I guess she really was interested in my guitar playing at the time. I've been playing guitar since I was like 6, 7 years old. So I guess for a 16-year-old to be able to have, I guess the touch, the feel, the chops, the feel, the musical feel, I guess it kind of caught her attention and said, "Hey," like she asked me, "Do I read music?" I said, "Well, I mean, not really. I mean, when I was doing my first guitar lessons, I was reading music, but I guess reading from a musical staff versus tabs on guitar, it's so different because everything's supposed to be for piano and stuff, and trying to translate that to strings on guitar, it's really hard. And my brain couldn't really get it at the time. So she said, "Hey, there's a musical happening in April or May." Oh, yeah, in May. "And I would love for you to play guitar for Hairspray, the musical, for this musical company. And you're going to get paid $500 for this whole entire thing." So I was like, whoa, as a 16-year-old, $500?
Yeah.
I was like,
that's like major.
Yeah, that's major. I'm like, you can earn money doing, like, playing guitar, doing a gig. I was like, are you serious? Right? I had no idea. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, coming from a Filipino Asian background, whenever, like, people would say, "What you want to do?" I was like, I mean, I was interested in something music. They're like, "Oh, what does that mean?" It's like, can you even earn money from that? Is that a real job? So. Oh,
yeah. And then when you grow up doing it, everybody's going to ask you, "So when are you going to grow up and get a real job?" And you're like, "I have a real job.
That's
it's
right.
music."
Now it's oh, snap. You're actually doing it. Like, oh, wow, you actually proved us all wrong. You know?
Absolutely. Oh, we know that. Yeah.
So that's how I got started. And from then on, my world was just open. I gained so much respect for, one, musical theater, because, you know, as a kid, you think, oh, musical theater, that's lame. But when you're in it, it's like you see the hard work, you see the production behind it, you see the professionalism, you see how the business of music, of like how it actually goes. And this was like a pro amateur production. But just to see how much time people spent into doing this and the skill level, and it humbled me so much. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The behind the scenes of theater productions is crazy. And people go usually and just watch them from the front view. Getting to see behind the scenes, it's like a circus. There's so much going on.
Absolutely.
From, you know, the set design to the production people to the people performing. It's so difficult and people don't know. And then when you're performing night after night, potentially 2 shows a day, it's grueling.
That was it, 2 shows a day, matinee show and a night show. I was like, wow. And they go for like 2 hours each.
Yeah. It's a workout. You don't need to go to the gym.
No.
You know?
Oh, absolutely not. Hence why I still look very young to this day because of it.
No, that's so great. Yeah. And then I noticed that you did some touring as well.
Correct.
So where did you, I know, you know, currently you're outside of Australia, but where have you toured with your career, and how did you do that?
Yes. This is actually
we're going to get into the cruise stuff.
Yes.
Because that's what that's all about. But tell us a little bit of that touring.
Man, this is actually a very, very wild story. So after high school ended, which was 9 years ago, that was in 2015, I really knew that music was the path that was set out for me, and it was something that I wanted to do. It was something I'm passionate about, and I could not see, and still to this day, can't see myself doing anything else.
Were your parents supportive of that? Were they
absolutely not.
I was going to say, or they were like, that's cute, but
absolutely
They're
not.
like, no.
I've definitely had to fight to get to where I've been. There've been times where I've actually ran away from home and for a day or two to kind of gather myself a bit after getting into some heated arguments with my dad. So the way that it started was, after 2015, 2016, I was like, all right, after getting to do this thing professionally, and now, the whole Instagram thing was starting to take off from 2015. I started posting clips myself. And I got scouted by people saying, hey, would you like to do a gig here in the city? This is when I just turned 18. So as an 18-year-old coming right out of high school, trying to figure out, and also there was things in my life as well, like changes and transitions, people in my life moving from different places, my older brother moving to a different country for a bit because he works in cybersecurity, and that's my number one support. He's the one who supported and understood me so much. I decided to give music college a try. So I applied for this one music college called Excelsior College, which is called Wesley Institute before. And I only lasted there a week. And I was like, don't know if I'm me being in a classroom of just 12 people trying to do a music career. And I don't know if these people have any connections to industry and gigs. So I was like, this week isn't for me. And then I transferred to a different music college called the Australian Institute of Music. So that is a more well-known music college and has more connections to the industry. So when I was there, it was awesome. I got to travel for the first time playing bass for a country artist named Brad Cox. Now he's quite a pretty big deal in Australia, in the Australian music scene.
Wow.
But then he's a nobody. So yeah, it was... I got to do that because a friend of mine named Sav Evans, who was an amazing drummer. We were in the same music classes together, and we had such great chemistry. But then, I was trying to do, I was getting gigs, trying to go to jam sessions and stuff like that. That's where I would get my chops. But the music scene in Sydney, I would compare it to something like LA. I mean, LA is obviously a lot bigger, but you have your cliques, you have your people who are very, very tight knit. And as an 18-year-old, it was like, man, I was like, how do I kind of break in and get to this thing? And then also in music college at that where I was, even though I was having awesome opportunities, you would be surrounded with people who wouldn't rock up to classes and people wouldn't take it so seriously. And then while you're doing these gigs, after that gig I would do at night where I went to tour, we went to the Snowy Mountains, which is like a 7-8 hour drive from Sydney. After each gig at night, I would have to go to my hotel room and finish off assignments. And I was like, this is not feasible. And, all those assignments would take away from my playing time and actually trying to work on some of the material that I needed to for these guitar examinations. And I tell you what, after that final, end of semester performance and flunking my guitar exam, I'm like, nah, this music college is not for me. I was like, I don't know if I could be surrounded with people who don't want to take music this seriously, or they kind of do, but they don't have this super drive for it to really go above and beyond. I was like, I really need to find like some ways to really do this in a scale that I could see myself doing this as a living and wanting to be able to make my own brand, because a lot of these people, they didn't know how to use social media as well and create a brand for themselves. And, music is a very entrepreneurial thing. And I needed to have mentorship in that area. So, I dropped out of music college after one semester. So I've dropped out of 2 music colleges. And
you're right.
Yeah.
That's the rock star story.
Yeah, and music is so business oriented. I would dare say that to be successful in music, you almost have to be better at business than actual playing style, because there are a lot of musicians and performers out there that have managed to amass a large social media following. Are they the best? Not always, but they were able to crack that business. And then there are monster players that have no exposure. So it's more important than ever now, and not just musicians, but any type of entertainer and performer, to spend time building up a brand. Exactly like what you said.
Correct.
Yeah, I know they call it like the 360. You have to have a little bit of everything to make it these days. And you really do. You know, it's like Rachel said, it's not just about the performance. And like you said, you got to really just dig into all the other aspects, market yourself, understand the business side, and get yourself out there, along with, I have to have talent too, you know, some kind of talent.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, that's, you know, the school side of it is like, I can see how that went for you.
Yep.
The touring side, to jump into the touring, how did you get like networked into that whole
Now
scene?
this is where
'Cause you were
social
still
media,
young,
this is where social
Yeah.
media and being young plays a great part.
Yeah.
So I would join these guitar Facebook groups, and a lot of these guitar Facebook groups were tailored towards church guitar players who were passionate about gear. So a lot of church guitarists, they love gear because a lot of the guitar heroes have really nice gear to get awesome sounds. And I guess what I did differently to get myself connected with people was just, I was a young guy who knew that I could play very well, most better than church musicians. And I was also passionate about gear, and I knew about my gear. So I would post content of me playing guitar solos over like church songs, or even like a Taylor Swift song, and getting like awesome sounding and looking videos. And I'll post them to these pages, and people would flood my DMs. And a lot of these people were living in places like Nashville, or they're living in California, or they're living somewhere in like the Midwest. And so it just so happened that in 2017 all the way to 2019, I decided to, you know, after I dropped out of college, I decided to work at this factory where my dad was working, which was the factory called Australia Post. So it's similar to like an Amazon factory, but he's been working there for more than 25 years, almost like 2-3 decades now. And that's the factory that's helped provide for our family ever since they moved to here in Australia.
That's awesome.
So while that was going on, and working, you know, I was felt led to, you know, continue working this job so I could, I don't know, it just felt like the right thing to do at the time when you weren't, you know, when you weren't studying or doing something. And while I was doing this job, like I would be doing these gigs as well. Like there was one time where I had to play for an album launch for this R&B artist who is quite well known in the Sydney music scene, and his album was launching. And I got scouted for this gig because of social media. They found me through Instagram. And so the way that I had to do for this gig is I finished work doing an overtime shift. I was working night shift at this time. I finished work at 5:30 a.m. when I started at 7:30 p.m. Then I had a rehearsal at church at 9:30 a.m. because this was a Saturday. I had to play for Sunday. Our rehearsal was on Saturday at the time. Then I had to drive from this to the city of Sydney, which was like an hour away, with the traffic, at 2:30 p.m. to set up all my gear and do all our sound checks. And then the gig didn't start till about 10 p.m. and I didn't get home till 2 a.m. And that was kind of like the life I was living. While also trying to do music content and try to find my niche kind of thing. And
well, that's I mean, that says a lot about you and your personality and your business skills. And that's what we always tell people, that's what you have to have. You have to have that drive. But it's one thing to have the drive, but it's another thing to actually produce.
Right.
And you have to be able to do that. And man, you definitely sound like you do that. I have to ask how you even found the cruise ships. How did you get introduced to that?
Okay. Well, before that, to the touring part, in 2019, in 2019, I got an email from a friend of mine who was a pastor at the time, and he said, "Hey, I don't know why I want to send you this email, but I felt like I was led something for you to do this." So I opened up the email, and it says, "You are invited to this event in Nashville, Tennessee in 2019." I was like, "Oh my gosh. This whole time of working in this factory, this is where I'm being led to." So just trying to figure out what to do, how am I going to do it? So in January, I was like, all right, I'm going to buy this plane ticket to go to Nashville. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I need to find a way where I can stay in the US for at least more than 2 weeks for what this date is telling me. So I applied for this visa where I'm allowed to stay in the US for up to 6 months as a tourist, business tourism visa.
Okay.
So I applied that in February of 2019, and it gets approved on the spot. And as the months are going by, May is coming up. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so happens that someone from that guitar group page who was from Nashville, he messages me and he says, "Hey, this is a week before I'm about to fly out." He goes, "I don't know why I'm calling you right now, but I saw something where you were asking that you need a place to stay in Nashville and you're looking for some work. Well, I'm about to go on tour with this top 5 artist, a top 5 finalist of American Idol of 2018. His name's Kate Fainer. He's now the husband of country superstar named Gabby Barrett. They met together on American Idol, and we need someone who can jump on guitar and bass on this tour. And this tour is about to start very, very soon. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'd go." So I arrive in Nashville. 2 days later, I leave that hotel and I'm out on the road. I go straight to Texas and I go on this tour.
Is nuts.
And that is how the touring began. And then while in my stint in Nashville for the 6 months, I wind up hanging out with people like the session aces from people who play for Luke Combs. And oh, by the way, my friend who called me right now, he's now the guitar player of Scotty McCreery.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
we love,
How cool is that?
we
That's a
love
great
Nashville.
gig.
Nashville's got such a great music scene and songwriting scene.
Correct.
If you want to grow as an artist, LA is great, New York is great, but Nashville, it's not just
Nashville
for country
is
music.
the place.
Yes.
Yeah, Nashville's come a long way. We've been there. We've done a ton of work there in the industry. And, we just love it from, there's so much going on.
There is so much
many
going
industry
on.
people
Yeah,
there.
like one day I'm hanging out with, Billy Ray Cyrus and his band. The next day I'm hanging out with session aces who are playing for Luke Combs and all these incredible musicians. Then I'm hanging out with big artists in the Christian music world who are like my heroes. I'm like, what in the world?
Right.
How did I get in here? Yeah, and it was so amazing. And I think what blew me away was just the generosity of people who were wanting to let me hang out with them. And without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. But that's currently that's probably the first tour I've done, and it's the only tour I've done ever since, because ever since COVID happened, and it's definitely delayed me getting to come back to the US.
People are resetting still from COVID.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Resetting everything, and it just rocked the world, rocked everybody.
Yeah, it
so
rocked me.
I think
it rocked whether I was going to have a music career still or not.
Trust me, everybody was in the same boat. We were looking at each other and going, "All right, what are we doing? What do it was definitely rough." So from that standpoint, but now that everything's restarting, there's definitely those opportunities coming back.
Right.
And I think they're going to be coming back even heavier than they were before, because everybody wants to get out. Everybody saw what it was like hanging out at home for a year. And doing nothing.
True for
now
me.
people are like,
in Australia.
well, it was long. I'm trying to be nice here. Yeah, it was longer for everybody, I think. But now everybody's like, we're not letting that happen again. We're going.
Absolutely.
So they're hitting the road, doing it. Everything from just the basic, club bar bands to the national acts that are booking these massive tours.
Right.
And their tours are not stopping.
Right.
So we love seeing that. So yeah, that's such a unique, amazing story. And you're so fortunate. I'm sure you're still networking with those people.
Absolutely.
And,
still to this day. And you know what? They're still asking me when am I ever going to get back to Nashville? And it's so sweet. I've never felt so much support in my life since I arrived to the US and going to Nashville and being surrounded with people who do what you do. They understand what you do and they really believe in what you do and who you are, which was mind-blowing. I've never felt that before living where I was in Australia, and hence why I love America, and just people get it,
Yeah, they get it. It's an appreciation of your craft and yourself as a human being, So I love the fact that, where you're at now, how did you end up there versus why not go live in Nashville?
Correct. Oh, sorry. The way that it happened is because in 2019 as well, this is a very pivotal year, my friend who I currently work with and who flew me here, he is the music director and the worship pastor of this church. But at the time, he was studying at Hillsong College in Sydney. And my music director mentor, who I would say he's the most influential guitar player in Christian music history. His name's Nigel Hendroff. He's Hillsong's music director and guitar player since 1999 or 2000, somewhere around there. And he was my music director mentor. And also, my friend who I worked with so happened to be his third-year intern for his final year of college. We met in his studio after he said, dude, are you Jem? I'm like, yeah. He's like, bro, I've been following you on the Facebook groups for like the last 3 years. I was like, are you serious?
That's awesome.
And he told me that, hey, I'm actually planning to go back to the US after I graduate this year in my town of Holland, Michigan, at the church where I'm based in. And if you ever wind up going to the US, I would love to fly you over and we'll do some music stuff together. So in 2019, when I went to Nashville, I told him, dude, I'm here. So he flew me in August to do some pre-production stuff for this church's album that we were planning. And then they flew me again in November to do the live album recording. And we've just stayed connected ever since. And in 2022, the year where I did my first cruise ship, and also where Australia was starting to open up again after being locked down for so long, he said, dude, there's a position at my church opening up for a music director. And also at this time, I didn't know how I was going to get back to the US because, you know, a lot of people didn't know how they were going to get me a visa and stuff like that. And even the artists I work with, it's like they were on a different stratosphere now that I think that, you know, it's like I don't think they really needed my service. So, yeah, he said, dude, there's a spot opening up at our church for a music director. I would love to fly you over and just to see what you think about it. So in the second week of October of 2022, the week after my 25th birthday, he flew me over. And at the end of the week, they're like, all right, dude, I'm set. I don't think we'd want to hire anyone else. We'd want to have you on board. So, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I had 2 weeks to think about it.
How cool is that?
And I was like, well, it's not Nashville, but anything to get me back to the US, I think would be the best ideal. And, you know, with the deal comes, you know, I get to work in a salary, I get a working visa, and, you know, I got a place to stay. And, you know, it's a really great way for me to get in the US and actually have like something going on.
Get it started, get the wheels going. So, yeah. You can always fly to Nashville if you need to go to Nashville.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
That's right.
You know,
and gospel music is huge.
Yeah.
It is. There's a large network of people. And
correct.
Yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yeah. So, I signed the contract, and after a year-long wait of getting paperwork sorted and getting a visa, I arrived in November 1st, 2023, and I'm working here as the music director here in Holland, Michigan at a church called Central Wesleyan Church. And I work here part-time because my friend, the deal he made with me is, dude, I want you to come here where you are able to thrive and still do your music stuff. So he's like, what if we made this deal where, you know, you get to work for the church and then on your days off, you do all your music stuff. So that's how it works. And
that's a sweet
deal.
Yeah.
That is a
that's awesome.
And ever since I've arrived here, I've been able to do stuff like go to NAMM. I've gotten some new guitar endorsements. You know, I'm able to, do some pretty awesome stuff and, you know, reconnect with some of my Nashville friends as well back in NAMM earlier this year. And, it's been awesome. New brand deals and being able to make content.
Yeah. I mean, how about NAMM? NAMM's such a cool place.
Incredible.
I used to have to go there every year when I was doing some endorsements for some drum stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I would drag Rachel and say, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
the first NAMM I went to was in Nashville, 2019. So to be able to go to the
we went
big
to the
one,
Nashville
like,
one
whoa.
too. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And then you go to the LA one, you're like, oh,
yeah,
whoa, wait
the
a
LA
second,
one was like,
back,
wow, Stevie Wonder's here, and everyone I know is here.
Yeah. So we have to jump, and I got to find out because the crew stuff is
correct.
It's on my mind, the curiosity of it and how you got into it.
Yes.
So give us the lowdown. Who introduced you to the cruising industry?
So the cruising industry was always something that my music teacher told me to think about. Just like, hey, if you ever get offered for a cruise ship, like you should take it because it's a really, really great way for you to do some music, but also get to explore places. So in 2022, I got a message from a bass player who's one of Sydney's top-notch session musicians. His name is Carl Mercado. He now is the bass player for the Australasia for Hamilton the musical.
Oh wow!
But he's also played with big Australian artists named an artist named Jessica Mauboy and other big artists who've come through Australia. Like he'd be the person to get one of the first calls. And this is also in 2022 when things were starting to open up for Australia again. So really prime time. They were really looking for people to get on this ship, and it was the first Princess cruise to get to Australia. So they're like, we need someone who can play on like a Lido deck, just like an hour set, and like do like the fun jammy kind of sets for people. Would you like to jump on this cruise and play for like a week? I was like, all right, yeah, 100%. I'm available to do it. So yeah, and that's how it started. And then he called me again the year after to do the same, like the similar thing, like a 4-piece band. And I got to this time around. The first cruise ship was just to a place called Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. It was going to near the Great Barrier Reef, so that's where the ship was going. And
that's cool.
Yeah, how long was that contract?
Yeah, that contract was just a week. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you weren't doing like the month long, like the 6 months, 8 months, like out at sea, because I'm like, that's going to affect your music career and your networking.
Correct.
Not that there's not a ton of networking to do on the cruise ship. So while you were there a week, did you have to play every day, 2 sets a day? Like how rigorous?
So
was
it was only 2 sets a day, one in the afternoon, and then the one till like 8 p.m. at night. That's
awesome. And you got the contract. Most people that come on the ships as a guest entertainer, they have to go through some training and that kind of stuff. Was there any of that stuff involved? Nothing.
None of that. It was just, all right, here.
That is amazing.
Get your pass, look at the safety information, and get ready to play. All the songs are like songs of the repertoire that you'd play on cover gigs and stuff like that. So we'd play everything from, your Ed Sheeran, and then you'd play the Police for the old timers, and you'd play Elvis tunes and Michael Jackson stuff, and everything.
I mean, a nice eclectic mix of music is pretty much what you hear on the cruise ships anyway.
Yes.
What about as far as, did you play, you said the first time you played solo, and then the second time you were playing with a band.
Oh, no. The first time was with the band, a 4-piece band. And then
with the band.
And
so you played with the band.
Yeah.
And how did you find, and I would imagine, was that your first cruise experience?
Yes, that was my first cruise experience, yes.
Okay, so how did you feel the difference of playing on a cruise ship versus playing a land gig?
Well, it's different because you're trying to tailor towards a different mixture of different audiences.
Yes.
When you're doing a gig, obviously there's obviously the same. It's the same kind of thing where you're tailoring towards different audiences, but people know that they're there for a gig. When you're there for a cruise ship, like you're there, it's like, okay, let's just try our best to entertain people, just in general. If they dance, then they dance. If they don't, then they don't. But you really do have to have that mindset of, okay, we need to make sure that our set is entertaining and people to stay engaged. So the aim of the game is to continue to make sure that you got to make sure to keep people engaged. So for me as a guitar player, like I needed to be physical in terms of my interaction with the band. It's a show. You like people. If you're dancing and grooving, then you got to make sure that you got to hang with the people and dance and groove as well. Like I'll send videos of myself when on those cruise ships where we're dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
And we always say that cruise ships. We talk about this all the time. That musicians that get on cruise ships, it's such a great training ground. If you don't have really good training on land, it's a great get on a cruise ship because you have to work. You have to work the crowd, like you said. You have to learn how to, all right, I got to make these people energized. So how am I going to do that? Where, if you're stuck, if you're doing a bar gig, pretty much you get that same crowd as a local crowd or whatever. Correct. You get so many different people on a cruise ship that you're like, oh, this is kind of challenging. What songs are going to hit well?
Yep.
How do I get the people going? Yeah, it's definitely challenging, and a lot of people don't realize that. Did you find that, they had good equipment for you? Was the sound good?
Yeah, the cruise ships that I went to, we thankfully I brought my, the technology is amazing now where you don't have to carry an amp. I brought my digital modeler where I can pretty much have all my sounds that I get from my real amps into the unit and just plug one XLR cable and I'll get the sound that I want. The first cruise ship I went on, as soon as I saw the first amplifier, I said to the sound guy, "Hey, give me the XLR line from the microphone. Just plug straight to my pedal board." I'm set. Yeah.
He was probably, "I love you.
Yeah.
Now I can control the sound."
Correct. He was like, "Oh, sweet." He was like, "Oh," and it was like, "Man, this sounds better than any guitar player that's come through."
Well, you know what? Nowadays, that's the truth. If you talk to any engineer, they're like, when they see somebody bring a double stack of Marshalls, they're like, "Oh no," and they're like, or if everybody else is in ears, or you have the big monitors in front of you, it's such a difference in sound nowadays where everything is so controlled.
Your band that you played with, did you know them, or were you guys just like thrown together? And it's like, how did you figure out what songs to play? Because you don't know what songs these guys know or how proficient they are. Correct. Did you find them to be proficient? And did you guys have to talk amongst yourselves like, okay, who's going to lead this thing? Like, who's going to pick the song?
For the first cruise ship, I knew who the drummer was. And I was kind of nervous because he has not had any experience playing these pop tunes. He's more of like a jazz fusion kind of drummer. And he was young at the time. I think he was only like 19, 20. Or 21, something like that. And he never heard like Luther Vandross songs or like how to play a certain Michael Jackson groove. And like we would talk with the songs on Facebook group chats. I'd give this little lead singer call. I was like, "Hey, what's your vibe?" He's like, "Oh, some soul stuff." I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, cool. I got your vibe." But with the drummer, like there would be times where he actually locked himself in a room for 3 hours one day because he didn't know what the songs were, how the groove is. He wasn't very familiar with it. So sometimes when we'd be playing, we'd be looking at the groove, and the drummer would be playing, but we'd look at each other like it's not fitting well. So definitely the first gig was kind of challenging because one, he is a fantastic drummer, but it's because he didn't really know and understand the repertoire, and he wasn't familiar with the songs. He didn't know what certain hits were supposed to be. Some crucial elements in the song that make the song what it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Some songs have a crucial. Everybody knows the drum hits.
Yes, correct. So, that was kind of the first time where we actually got into a room and rehearsed like what songs we were gonna do.
You have to. Come on, if you want to play a Motown groove, you got to know what that groove
exactly.
is. Yeah.
Because I've seen videos of you, specifically more with the gospel stuff, and you are musical directing, so you have a talk-back mic. And I get the impression that the musicians are not always the same because you were calling out chord progressions like 2, 4, 5, 1 before they happen.
Mm-hmm. And especially in an environment where it's a more professional environment, when you're playing in a cruise ship gig, like you got to make sure that you kind of know what you're going to be playing or kind of know what you're going to get into. So that was the first challenging. That was the challenging one. The second cruise ship gig I did, everyone didn't know each other. I mean, we knew of each other, but we'd never actually officially met. But man, we clicked right away. Like people were coming up to us like, "Oh my gosh, like have you guys been playing together for a while? Because you guys are so well connected. Like it's insane." And because we're all sitting on chairs, the bass player's behind me. I can't really see him. The drummer's on my left. We're really crowded, and then Zoe, who is our vocalist, it was just powerhouse vocal. We just meshed really, really well, and it was a great time. Like we were a 4-piece band, 3-piece instrument, guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, but we just grooved so well together that it was just amazing.
That's a great feeling because it's a difference. And you mentioned about the drummer, not knowing certain things. From a musician that's experienced and knows that, it's a little bit frustrating. I mean, obviously, you don't really have a choice, and it sounds like he did his homework, try to get his stuff together. But at the same point, when you get 4 people that just click, there's nothing like it.
There is absolutely nothing like it.
No, it's the groove that really makes it. You're like, it makes your job much easier. You can concentrate more on your craft because now you don't have to worry about, I'm out of the pocket with the drummer and he doesn't know what he's doing. Anything like that. So that makes it such a better feeling to perform.
100%. And the fact that the second cruise ship was 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks with these not only incredible musicians, but we hung out together every day. Like, we had such great chemistry. It was wonderful. It really, really was wonderful. And we all came from different places. The singer, she's from the UK. She was actually a contestant on The Voice UK. The bass player is originally from Brazil, and the drummer's from Indonesia. And we all live in Sydney. And it was just a hodgepodge of different, cultures.
I love that.
But music is what helped us connect together, and really we just connected through that, and it was so fun. Like, no one had an ego with themselves. Everyone just really just wanted to have such a great time, and yeah, we really did. That cruise ship was so enjoyable.
And how about, like, how did you find the cabins? Did they give you each your own cabin? Did you have to share a cabin? How did you find the restaurants? I got to hear about your take on that stuff.
So the first cruise ship I did was luxury. They gave us the guest bedroom, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. It had a giant queen size bed, had a balcony. I could see the view. That was incredible. And then the second one, it was a bunk. It was like in the fifth level, and where all the other workers and entertainers are. No window, no nothing. So every morning you'd hear the anchor go da 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 da, just drop down when we arrived at our stop. But it didn't really bother me too much because the person who I was bunking with was the bass player for the band.
Right.
So it was fine. I sleep really well. I sleep like a baby anywhere, whether I'm on a plane or in a car or.
That's awesome. And how did you find the experience of, say, were you allowed, because I know on different contracts, some of the performers are not allowed to go to the main restaurant, not allowed to have a cocktail at the bar. You have to go down to the crew area.
I was allowed on both my cruise ships to do all of it.
Oh,
yes!
Look at you, rock star there.
It was. I get to eat with the guests. I get to know them, get to know where they're from. Get to sit down and chat with families.
That's a great thing too, because I think a lot of times when the performers aren't allowed to get in the mix, it kind of separates them a little bit.
And I think for the first cruise ship gig, that was the case with the theater performers who were contracted actually by the company. That was the case. They weren't allowed to interact with anyone or eat in the guest restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes it, I think from an entertainer, makes it more of a pleasant experience. You get to do what you want at your leisure, but also that you do get to interact with the people there. And it makes your job a little more fun, for the lack of, better term. But now, being on the cruise ship, you're there for 2 weeks, let's say. How did you manage your other side of your musical career? Okay, now you're doing production and other stuff. Did you have connectivity to be able to do that stuff?
Thankfully, I take my laptop with me everywhere I go. So when I had free time, I would edit those videos and make content from the night that we did, and that side. I also brought a MIDI controller, or if I ever wanted to feel like practicing stuff. But a lot of the time I would always like have music on my mind, or I would be doing something musical related. So I would sometimes practice on my guitar. Sometimes I would go and edit videos from the night and make vlogs from the cruise ship. I'm still going to be uploading more because it's a
I love your videos. They're great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're still...
No, they really are. They're really just the content you put out is really just well edited. It's great. It's interesting. It keeps people, coming back. I'd keep doing it because I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and I try to make the content as authentic as possible. So that's what I was doing on the ship. Yeah, I would get some time to myself to do that creative stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's some downtime and stuff like that. How about as far as, because Rachel, I know you like to know a memorable experience on a ship. Did you see any crazy stuff?
Oh!
Did you, we got to get into a little bit of the dirt.
The second cruise ship was, so we went to 3 places. We went to go to Fiji, Vanuatu, and New Caledonia. So when the ship stops, we got to go see the islands and stuff like that. But when we did our first stop in Fiji, we got tourist trapped. Us four as a band, we got tourist trapped where we went to my friend was like, "Oh, well, we're not gonna have another experience like this ever again. So let's go with the all the people at the front of the ship saying, 'All right, tour here,' and they took us to terrible places. Like they would take us to places, and then they'd ask for money to go enter this garden, and then they'd take us to this temple where you had to pay. Then they would take us to a beach resort, which was terrible. People waited 2 hours for a pizza. The beach wasn't pretty, and we're like, "Oh my goodness, did we just pay $50 to get on this van?" It was like a dodgy Toyota Sienna, and had the advertisement was like, "Oh, there's AC on it," but it was just not fun. It was not great.
Oh my God, that's a lesson right there, right?
Oh my goodness gracious! The lesson is if there's people out there advertising that there's a tour going on, you're gonna get tourist trapped. So that was that.
Watch out for that. We always talk about that too. Like one of the pro tips that we like to give first-time cruisers on the other side, because there's a lot of cruisers that watch the series and they want to know, okay, what are the do's or the don'ts? And one of the things we say is if you're going to book an excursion, maybe book it with a cruise line because you're guaranteed to, come back alive, and then also, come back on time because a lot of people, they miss the boat.
They miss the boat. Yep.
Yeah. So, that's something that we say is a good thing to do, book with the cruise ship. It's just, it's funny to hear that happened.
Yeah, that was the only negative experience I had on the cruise ship when we got to explore was, don't get tourist trapped. Make sure that if you do a tour, you book with the actual cruise line. Don't accept people who are just going outside, and just throwing signs up because they just want your money.
Yeah, they printed it that morning. They're like, "Yep, let's grab a couple." Yeah, if they can fill their bus with $50 a person, depending on where you're visiting, that could be great money for a day. And then we'll just kind of take them to a couple stops, and they don't know any better. They've never been here. So
that's correct.
I can see that.
That's right. There's like, explore our beautiful island. And on that day, it was not very beautiful. So, yeah.
No, that's crazy. And I know on the side, did you develop your own kind of pedal?
Oh, well, no, I didn't develop a guitar pedal, but a friend of mine created a signature pedal of mine, which is an overdrive pedal. It's 2 overdrive pedals in one. So actually, let me get it up for you. It's actually right here.
Yeah. This is where we say we will be right back, everybody, as the chair is spinning. And everybody that's watching this, a pedal is something that a guitar player will use to produce some kind of unique sounds. And here we go.
So ever since I was, how old was I? I think 12 or 13, my brother gave me this pedal. It's 2 pedals in one. It's called a jet drive. And I've been using it ever since. And it is incredible. It is the pedal I used for up until last year. It's a sound that I just love, and I love the fact that you can have 2 pedals in one. So my brother's friend who builds guitars in Melbourne, Australia, his name is Dave Vander. He has a company called Vander Guitars, and he was like, "Hey, what are your thoughts if I made you a signature pedal?" I was like, "Well, signature pedal, I mean." Signature. I was very hesitant at first because signature gear is for people who like are rock star status. It's like signature people. Yes. I was like, wow. So I was hesitant at first, but I thought, you know what? A lot of people ask me what I use for my guitar sound, and how cool would it be if I could offer a product that has a sound that could work that works for me, that people love, but tailored that it can work for anybody. So he was like, all right, let's try to develop something. So he sent me at least 5 different prototypes, right? The first prototype was this guy. And then there's another prototype, which was this guy.
Wow.
And I love the sound of both of these because it got me the vibe of this pedal, but it sounded more open. It was more robust. It sounded more natural. It had this feel that I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds and feels awesome. So I was like, is there a way that you could combine these 2 together? So then he made me this prototype, which was pretty much that, where he figured out a way to combine these 2 prototypes. And then this is the
that's really
this is
cool.
the final
that is sharp.
This is the final prototype. And then when it came time to create the final version of it, he says, "What design do you want?" So I was like, "Well, I love 80s culture." So one of my gags that I do online, which is also what I'm known for, is I ride a skateboard while playing guitar. If you guys have seen that.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yes, and the skateboard that I've been riding since I was in 8th grade, so I was 14, was a green skateboard with orange wheels. Green is my favorite color, and because this looks like a skateboard, I was like, what if we had some orange elements to it too? So I was like, okay, I go to my friend named Lucas, who is a big 80s nut. He's a guitar player as well, but he's also really creative with his designs. I said, bro, what should we do? He goes, okay, well, you love 80s culture. I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, you love drive-thrus. You love eating burgers and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I do. He goes, all right, what if we made this like a neon 80s sign, and made it green and orange to mimic like your skateboard? Because the initial idea that my friend Dave, who was building the pedal, was like, what if we made it like themed to your skateboard? I'm like, that's a good idea. And I was like, okay, yep, let's do that. Green and orange, and we'll have a neon sign like as if it's an 80s drive-thru. And I was like, why don't we just name it the Drive-Thru? So
I love that. I saw that.
Yes.
I was like, how did you come up with that name?
yes, that's what we came up with the name. And then my favorite drive-thru, believe it or not, is Chick-fil-A. And
Listen, there's a lot of people that like Chick-fil-A.
Yes. So when I first had Chick-fil-A, I fell in love with the #1 deluxe. That's my main meal. So of the pedal, you have two sides. You have channel #1, and then you have the deluxe channel, which mimics my Chick-fil-A order. And there's
now, if you could only eat it, that would be great.
Absolutely. If only I could eat it. So there's two versions of my pedal. There's a white one and a black one. The black.
I'm looking at it.
Yes.
Yeah, like the white one looks sharp.
Yeah.
I can see what you're talking about. The neon, it goes from green to the orange, and you've separated the buttons green and orange for the different sides of the pedals.
Yes.
And then as you started talking about drive-thrus, I'm looking at the black one, and there's like a burger on it.
Yes, there's a burger on it. There's a burger on that midnight one because he was like, oh, my friend Dave was like, those secret menus that they have, like if you go to In-N-Out, you ask for like an animal style this, and it's not written directly.
Wait, how do I not know this?
Yeah,
Rachel,
oh my
come
goodness
on.
gracious.
This is the thing. There's a lot of secret menus. She's going to get on that.
I'm going to get on that now.
So yeah, the black one, he was like, I want to make another version where you have like you can add a modification to it for like it's a more like a gain. It has more gain in that channel. So that's how the story of the drive-thru pedal came to be.
So tell everybody watching, because I'm sure there's going to be some guitar players out there.
Mm-hmm.
How can they find that pedal?
Aha! Now you can find my pedal at reverb.com. Usually you would have to buy it from the website, Vanda Guitars. And in US dollar, it is so cheap. Like you cannot find a 2-in-1 overdrive pedal for the price that it is. I think US dollar, I think it's about $180.
Oh my God, that's a great deal.
Yeah, like dual overdrive pedals cost $300-400. Yes, and in Australia, I think it's if you buy it from the vandaguitars.com.au website, it's $250.
Right.
Yeah, $250.
So you can buy it from Reverb a little bit cheaper.
You can buy it from Reverb in the US for $10 more, but because it's on Reverb, it's available to be shipped everywhere in the world.
Oh, that's incredible. Everybody got to go check that out. I have a couple more questions for you.
Absolutely, ask them away.
Yeah. So I'd like to know, do you have any new cruise contracts coming up that you're eyeing, or is that on hold for right now?
At the moment, no. I would love to one day. But the thing is, because of my visa restrictions, I am only allowed to earn income from the church that I'm working on until I get a green card. So hopefully this continues to work out well, where I can get permanent residency and a green card.
Fingers crossed. We want that.
Hopefully that'll turns out well. When that comes, hopefully more opportunities arise. I would definitely love to do cruise ship again. I mean, they're so fun playing them. And
it sounds like like you had a great time, a great experience. A lot of the musicians that we talked to, it's all been positive.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's some, when some of the musicians take an 8-month contract or some stuff that's, not as pleasant, but still the overall experience, it's, you're seeing so many different places, playing for so many different people.
Correct.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff you're working on currently that people can find you online that might be coming up.
Okay.
Do you have anything coming out? This is a promotion time.
This is a promotion
Let's
time.
go.
On August 30th, the church that I'm currently working on, we just did an album, a 7-song album where we recorded in a coffee shop. It was initially for like a praise and worship night, but we made enough content that was like, oh, let's turn this into an actual album project. So
wow,
we just finished mixing and getting it mastered just last week after doing the last 3 intensive months of tracking and some overdub stuff and choosing what songs are going to be on it. And it's going to be released on August 30th. It's called Water's Edge Worship Unplugged live at We Copy, because the shop that we did is called
and that's going to be available
everywhere.
on all platforms?
Spotify, Apple Music. You'll hear a lot of guitar solos from me if you're interested in that.
I'm gonna totally listen to it. I'm excited. What other stuff is working in the background for you?
At the moment, I mean, I do a lot of promotions for gear. So a lot of people, Line 6 is one of my big endorsers. I also I create presets for Line 6 Helix and HX Stomp. So if you want to find the presets that I make for your Line 6 Helix and HX Stomp, and hopefully soon Podgo, you can find them on a website called multitracks.com. And I am found on the producers list, and if you find my name, I sell bundles and also individual presets, and they range from everything from you can make your guitar sound like a Marshall, you can make your amp sound like a Mesa Boogie, a Fender, a Vox, all this stuff. So that you can find on multitracks.com.
I love that stuff. We're both gearheads, and we love checking out that stuff. Can you tell everybody all your socials where they can go stalk you like I did?
Absolutely. So on YouTube,
not stalk, but go.
Yes,
you can check out his stuff because the content is really well done. No, it's amazing.
Thank you. You can find me on YouTube on my name, Jemmuel Magtibay, or if you just type in Jemmy Gems, you can find all my social media at JemmyGems_. That is JEMMYGEMS, and you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And I guess if you ever feel like wanting to, you can also check out my website at www.jemmuelmagtibaymusic.com.
I saw that. That is a great website, and there's lots of content there as well. Rachel,
absolutely.
I know Rachel always has that last question up her sleeve. She wants to know something. Come on, Rachel. And please don't ask him about his favorite burger place, because that will be the next question.
That was kind of a question. I wanted to reiterate to go to his website, because you can learn a lot more about the pedals and check them out, because they're super cool. And going back to this secret menu business, not because I don't know, not because I don't know, because like other people might not know.
So it's a secret menu is just. Come on, it's a secret. We can't tell everybody. They're going to have to.
What is the code word to get the secret menu at Chick-fil-A?
I don't think Chick-fil-A has a secret menu, but I know In-N-Out does.
Okay.
And I got to go to In-N-Out for the first time in January when I was at NAMM, and I loved it.
Speaking of NAMM, do you have any plans on going back there this year? Are people going to find you?
I was meant to, and until my sister told me, hey, I'm planning to get married on January 7th. So I don't.
Does she want to get married at the NAMM booth where you're going to be playing?
Oh, well, I wish. But then also, the other reason I'm not going on NAMM is the day NAMM starts is the team that I play with here at church that we just did the album with, we're planning on going on a tour. Yeah.
No way. Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
So I think it's going to be split into 2 different kinds of weeks in a few different territories. Water's Edge Worship, who is the group that I play with, and part of the organization of the church, will be playing to be promoting some music stuff, but also give some, I think we might do some workshops with other people, because we'll be starting out playing, and I think starting from January 23rd we'll be in Alabama at a church there, and then we'll be driving to Tennessee and doing something around there.
Oh my gosh.
And maybe something in Florida. And then the next leg of a tour, we'll be playing at a few churches in the West Michigan area. So yeah, that's what we'll be starting.
People can check that out online. I'm sure you're going to post all that.
Correct.
So Jem, I have to tell you, this has been amazing having you on the show. I can't thank you enough for your time.
Thank you guys so much.
Rachel, any last words for Jem?
No, I mean,
we kept him a long time.
We gotta let him tour so that way he can come back and update us.
Oh yeah, we want you to come back on the show
Yeah.
and tell us more stories. So once we get this series going, we're going to have you back. We're going to hear some new stories. We're going to promote some stuff. But for now, this has just been amazing.
Oh,
I can't thank you enough. And I hope you had fun.
I had a great time. Thank you, Rachel and Mike, for having me on the show and for reaching out to me. I'm so glad that I saw the DM, because a lot of times the DM just gets sent to the spam folder, and I'm glad that I checked it. And this has been such a really wonderful...
I'm glad you do, because you're an amazing guest to have on. And you've gained 2 new fans. I'm speaking for Rachel, but we just think the world of you, and we're excited to keep talking to you. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. That was a great episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Great guests. We're super excited. Each week, we're going to bring you a new interview with cruise staff featuring entertainers, cruise chefs, cruise directors, bartenders, whoever we can find, as well as cruisers themselves to tell their individual stories. And we're going to have special guest celebrities. Theme cruises are super big, so we're going to be interviewing a bunch of people. But Rachel, tell them what they need to do to be notified each week.
What do you mean do? They should have did. So if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future episodes. And if you want to watch some of the previous episodes, the best place to do that is our website. And that is cruiseshipexplorers.com.
Okay, everybody, you heard it, cruiseshipexplorers.com. Join us each week. We're super excited. Till the next time, see you then.